taking a while. There it goes. All right. So, and then I'll maximize this. So for the authentication, we're going to create a login view, a logout view, and a login form. And we'll modify the form view that we created before to make it so that you have to log in to use the form. And we're going to add some links to the base HTML for the login and the logout, actually. That being said, this is could be really complicated, but again, Python and Django make this really easy. So, are we ready? Am I ready? That's the bigger question, probably. So why did that not go down? There we go. All right, so I'm in Forms. One of the first things I'm going to do, is this bright enough to see everything okay? Seems a little dim up there, and I tried to lower this. If I lower it too much, it'll be sleep-inducing. Not better? But is it too dark for other things? It's good? All right, if you fall asleep, let me know. Snore loudly. Okay, so inside of the templates, I'm going to add another. Notice there is already Tech App, right? I'm going to add another folder. And this folder is called Registration. All right, and it has to be called Registration, just like that. This is where Django expects you to put all of your logins and logouts and things like that.
It's a folder inside templates.
It's a folder inside of templates, just like Tech App. So it's inside of templates, same level as Tech App. So I'm going to.
Is it like the name independent? Spell it.
Yeah, it needs to be spelled right and it needs to be lowercase. Yeah.
I can't get my virtual machine to open.
What does it say? I believe
That's asking me.
where is your virtual machine?
Usually it's just pops right up.
Right, yeah, that needs to be
Make a folder. Add a folder. Right click.
I was going to say I could take sometimes it gets locked. You can kill the lock file and it'll come back, but that looks like it's just because it was already there. All right, so we got the templates and registration. Questions on that? I'm going
Put
to,
it in the wrong spot. Or just,
so you can drag it to
I
where
don't know
you
what I meant is just to understand the bigger picture. If you actually put it in this particular spot, you have to radically alter all the properties.
You'd have to go in and alter so we're going to do like almost zero related to this.
Okay.
We're doing no pathing and everything. If you change this, you need to go possibly in the settings file, but I think you might have to go to the config file to change where it is. I mean, we're putting things where it expects. And since it's where it expects, we have to do very little work. But you can always move things around. It just means that you're going to have to control all of the pathing. So in the registration, I'm going to add a new file, which I'm going to call login HTML. Weirdly, we don't even have to write a view for this. And we don't have to put it into the URLs. So I have login HTML. And it's pretty simple. It's about like all the others. I'm going to extend base. Having trouble finding my percent sign. So basically extends base HTML, just like always. And then we have our block content. Just like always. I'm going to give it, I should probably end the block content too, before I forget to do that. So I'll do end content, or end block rather. It's one. I'm just confirming that, but I'm sure it's one. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to do like just a heading to H2 login, just so we know what page we're at. And I am going to do really not too much. I'm going to do a form, right? So form method equals post. Yeah.
Larger screen.
Oh, it's up in the lights?
You need a little more light up. All right, I was trying to get the screen to be bright.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Can you guys still see it all right? Yep. So we're going to make a form. This token thing is not required, but it's considered a good idea. It basically is there just to help ensure that it's a valid request. CRSV. I'm not sure what that stands for. I should look that up. Token. SF. And with a token, not a token. Okay. And then in here, I'm going to do form, and I'm underscore, actually dot, as underscore P. Basically what that means is it's going to use paragraphs for the form. And I believe that's it for the form. So it's just about like every other form we've done. Questions on that? We've done form as table. You can do form as list. This is form as paragraph. You know, they're just different ways to set it up. What it will do is it'll put a P tags around the password, right? And P tags around the username. Any questions on that before I go on to the next? I'm going to try to make a link to this. This I might have to remember. I think it's just URL login. Let's try that. If that fails, I'll go to GitHub and see. So this is the base HTML. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another menu item. And I believe it's just login. But I don't know for sure. Let's see what happens when I do that. I'm going to save everything. I need to probably open up my environment start my environment.
Do you want to leave the add products in?
Oh, no. Thank you. So I'm going to do source activate. I don't know, source BENV bin activate. And then I'm going to CD tech review 2. And I'll run server. And I think it's fine. Let's see if it works. I just want to see if the login form is working at this point, if that link works. Because if it isn't, I'll have to go to the other. So let's go a new.
Was the base safe?
What?
It didn't look like safe. Base, that HTML, was it safe?
You may be right. Thank you. None of these are the right one. Oh,
167.0.0.
yeah. I'm just going to change this to, I called it tech app, right? Whoa. So login needs to, I do need to check on what the login is. It's just literally you log in. Why is it not happy?
Did you need to change something in the URLs?
I don't think so. Let me look in the URLs here too.
Do you have a new page when you need something wrong?
Yeah, but this is sort of built in. So URL logout, logout. That worked. Let's just look and see if I did anything in the URLs. I don't think I did. See, there's nothing.
Login message.
Yeah, but they're not. There's no login as such.
Is that part of the default that we need the message?
It should be part of the default. What I'm wondering is, let's look at views again. I looked at all of this. So when we go down, there's new product. Oh, let's look at views here. I don't think there's a login one. There's login required. We're going to do that. Log out, log in, but there's no actual view for this. Actually, there might be one place. I think I remember. You got. That actually should do it right there. And I think do we have that? I don't think we have that.
What file is it?
This is the URLs.
Oh, yeah, we don't have it.
So let's go back. This is the URLs in the project. And I think I need to add this. It basically is, you're loading, you're including also the authorization URLs. Right? So like we included the URLs down in our app, we need to include the ones that are in the authorization, which is where all the login and all of that is. I'm going to copy this. You could paste it. I'll type it. So let's go back here. So where this goes again is not our usual URLs, but up higher in the Tech Review 2, the project level. So I just have to get the right thing. I have to come down here, and in this URLs, we need to have the path accounts and include the Django contrib auth URLs. That's where the link to the login and all of that is. I'll give you a minute, then we'll try it again. I forgot about this line. I think I looked at everything else, but I forgot this line. So you have a login now? No.
Yeah, at least the main page comes up when it goes login. For that.
Well, it should work. Let's see. I have to save this. I will come back to it if you need a moment to type it. I just want to see if it works. All right. So I'm going to go back. Oops, I don't want the admin.
There we go.
All right, so there's the login, and it fails. So end block, isn't that right, end block? Oh, I spelled it wrong. Okay, CSRF. So let's go back there. There we go, login. Yeah. Now, you know what I forgot to put on this? Which maybe you didn't forget? What's missing on our form? This is just,
Accept button.
yes, we did forgot the button. So let's go back. So inside the form, after the P, we need to say button. Type equals submit. And we'll just do, so I'll save that. And if I refresh now, it'll have a button to log in. Steve, nothing much is going to happen here. Password 1. And then it did not. And the reason why that failed is because we're not really ready yet.
We didn't build the other piece.
Right. So the parts that we have to do is we have to tell it what happens when you successfully log in, what happens when you don't successfully log in. So we need to redirect it to some pages. That's what we'll do next, and we'll create a couple of URLs for those and some views. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go back down to views. And after the form here, I am going to add another def. So we want a login message. You can name this whatever you want. The name isn't So I'm going to do a request. And I'm going to just return render request. We'll just do it as review, actually. So in this one, it is tech app with quotes. So we'll just call it login message dot HTML. And we don't really have to do form or anything like that. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the logout message. So if you really wanted to, you could copy that. And I'm just going to call it logout message. And I'll change this to logout message. And then we obviously will have to create those pages, which will be fairly minimal. So I'm going to save those. I'll give you a second. You guys got that, or everybody? There's a couple of other things we'll have to do too, but one is the URLs, of course, and it will be exactly like our other URLs. This one is in the regular URLs place. So I'm going to do login message, views dot login message, and I'm going to give it a name equals login message. The name is really whatever you want it to be. It's what you're going to refer to it elsewhere, though, as. And then I'm going to do exactly the same for the logout. Any questions about those? Okay, so now we have URLs here, and then we need to make those, and these will go in the regular sub folder, tech app here, rather than the registration one. So I'm going to create a new file, which will be logout, or let's do login message .html. And I will do, basically it's the same thing we've been doing. So we want extends base.html. Then we have our content area. It's a content block. 3 minutes. Block content. I keep doing that. A little bit of dyslexia, I think. Block content. And then on the end, we'll do end block. For now, all I'm going to do, and that's one word, is put in a paragraph saying welcome. That's all I'm going to do for the login for now. You can do more later if you want. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to create a new file, which is log out message .html, and I'm going to paste, and I'm just going to say come back soon or something. All right, I'm going to save everything. So we created some real simple little pages, and then there's one other little piece of this where we have to do the redirect. But I'll give you a second to catch up if you need. Make sure everybody looks caught up, are you? All right. So this part, again, the hard part about all of this is simply just figuring out where all the pieces go. There's so many little tiny pieces that go in so many places. This last piece actually goes in settings. Oh, I missed. So I want to get all the way down there. It's in settings.py. Same place we did the database setup. Same place we did added the app, right? So we set the app up here to tech app. We did our databases. At the very bottom of this file, it has static URL equals static. And we need to add two more things here. Login, redirect, and these need to be all caps, underscore URL, equals, and I called it, it actually doesn't matter here. I'll do it single though. We called it login message, so I'll call it login message because that's what I gave it as the name as well, right? And then I'm going to do when we did the URLs, when we say what the name is. This is log out, redirect URL equals log out message. These are all caps because they're built-in constants. Does that make sense? We're just assigning a value to it. If everything works, so I'm going to save all. I think it's let's see what happens when I log in now. So let's refresh. Password. So it went to well. We're going to add the log out button. Yeah. The actual, all we have to do for the log out button. So let's go back in here. Is go to the base HTML. We could have done it, I guess, when we did log out. Log out, yes. So I'm just going to change this to log out, and we'll change this to log out. Oh, this should be log out, not log in out. Okay. So we've logged in. Oh, I need to refresh. There's log out. Come back soon. And you are logged out at that point. You don't have to write any code to log out. Notice we didn't really have to write any code to log in except for putting a form there. So one of the things that we want to do is make it so that you can't add products unless you're logged in, right? So you basically can view we want it so you can view things like this and this without being logged in. But if you want to enter such stuff, you have to be logged in. So that's the next step on this. And then we'll be somewhat done with it. Are you guys ready for that last little part? It's also very simple. We're going to go back to views. The main thing we need to do is add another import. So, and this is just insanely easy compared to most other languages. But I'm going to do from Django .contrib .auth .decorators we are going to import login required. It would be nice if I was getting more IntelliSense with this. Did I spelled Django wrong? That's why. Okay, did I spell anything else wrong along the way? I don't think so. I'm going to just go back just to see if login required shows up now. No. Do I have anything else spelled wrong?
Doesn't look like it.
All right. Let's assume I did that right. So we have one form down here on this one. I am going to do at login required. And I am going to, that's it. That actually makes this form now require a login. You can't get simpler. So let's save and see if that works. So let's refresh. Now it goes to login right away, and if I go to add products, it just stays a login. It automatically goes to login for that. And then if I do, I forget who else we had. Do we have Mickey Mouse or somebody?
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny, okay. I'm going to do, so when I log in, it goes back to the form now because I was there. So now I can fill in the form. I have no idea what to put in here, but I may not.
What if you click like products and go back to add products? Will it tell you to log in?
No, it shouldn't because I'm already logged in. But if I go back to, say, types and I log out, and then I go back to types, I can see that, and then it goes to the login when I do the form. So it works really nice. And again, it's just dead simple. So that's actually, so the very last assignment is just to do a test on one of your forms. And I'll show you that real quickly. I just copy one over. And then the project. So this is what we were kind of looking for. Ultimately your club, your Python club, should look a lot like this. It's just basically menus. And again, if you were really good with CSS, you could ignore or enhance the Bootstrap that we're using. But it gives us a little menu. Basically, you have your home page, some couple of pages that just show you data, data that can give you details, right? And then we'll have a login and log out in a couple of forms. So that's what you're aiming for. And if you want, your project can look just like this too, right? Or you can venture into new areas if you want. Let's see, shaking the head. Okay. All right. So, questions? I mean, this thing about this, decorators are basically, they have this @ sign. And when you put that in front of a function, it applies to it. So login required means that this is login required. There are other decorators. There are actually about a few dozen of them that you can use for different things.
Would anything that you put below that require a
No, it's only,
just to that one?
it's just to this function, and how it knows that it's this function is it's immediately above it and it's on the same indentation. So if you had multiple forms, you have to put this right in front of every form, right? But that's all you have to do is that one line. But there is a lot. I mean, so everything is fairly simple and only takes a line or two of code. The hard part, and it's true of this whole framework and a lot of frameworks, the hard part is that there's so many different places to put those couple lines of code. You know, from views to settings to the different HTML to the URLs. I mean, there's just a lot of places to keep track of for everything. All right, so tests. This is the very last thing, was to do a couple of tests on forms. The tests that are in this are fairly, they're not real useful tests. If you take the ITC 255, we'll do some more sophisticated unit testing on some things there. But let me go to GitHub and go to tests. Actually, yeah. So let's go back. I might just copy these in. So I did tests. Actually, I know which tests to copy in. This is the one we were doing in class. It actually has tests where my one on the virtual does not, because I did them at home and uploaded them. So I'll copy in. No, I don't have any tests here either. I thought I did them.
Yeah, I didn't see them. I went to copy.
So I guess I haven't copied them in. I did them. They're on my laptop, so I know I did them at home. I did the video on them. I guess I just didn't post them. I'll copy them in from here. The trouble here is that everything's going to have the wrong name. Go to raw already. All right, so I think it's just called product, right? In ours, I have to look at the models. think that was pretty much what I had, right? And then I think it's probably product form. Let's look at these. Product form. And I think that was the only form I did. All right, so test product test. These are just, you guys did these tests, most of you,
Mhm.
and they were fine. I'm just changing them to match. Which I shouldn't bother doing. This is so busy.
So, are you ready? Any new ones?
Yeah, there's a new one at the end. These won't run because I have to change the things. So these are a form test case. And these are where I was going to have you go. So I have two forms here. We've only got one. So basically you only need to write one test unless you have a couple of forms. The idea is we're testing
Just the two.
just the two forms, because the other assignment was to test the views and the things. So I'm going to test product form is valid. So you do form equals valid or equals product form. You give it a name. Actually, you have to give it all the fields, right? You have to give it data equals and just all the fields for that model in the form. And then you assert that the form is valid. And if that's true, it will give you a true, right? It'll say that it's valid. So all we're doing is testing if the form is valid. There's a lot of other stuff you could test. But as I said, I just wanted to get the idea of this. So I'm going to modify this so that they actually reflect what we've got.
It's going to be log in and log out.
Yeah.
How is it invalid?
Well, so it could be invalid if,
You put in that data, or
yeah, so this one has,
they look almost the same?
what did I do here? Anything I did different? Tech type, laptop, user, Steve, entry date, product URL, product description. I think that this should this should fail. One of the things with tests is that sometimes you want them to fail, as an example. I mean, there are times you want them to fail, and there are times you want them to
I
succeed.
mean, ideally, you're writing your tests before you're writing everything else, and you're writing them to fail, and then you're writing the code to pass.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you would, in real life, you would go through and you would write these as you go through. Right. As I said, I'll talk more about it in systems, but when you're doing the test, so as you build each new piece, you would write a test for that, and then you would see if the tests succeed. And at the end, you would want to be able to run through the whole suite of the tests and have them all pass. You should test lots of things. Like one of the things that you should test invalid data. You should test what happens if you enter garbage into different fields, right? Does it do anything about it? What happens if you leave out certain things? There's all sorts of things that you would want to test to make sure that if there's any kind of calculations that go on, you'd want to test the calculations. Basically, and this is usually a part of every programming job these days, is to write tests for your code, unit tests as you go. And then it used to be that you would write all your code and then you'd create your tests, but now generally the idea is to test it as you go. These are not particularly intelligent tests. These are basically just to give you the feeling of what tests look like. But that's the very last assignment, and it may be as simple, if you've only got one form, it may be as simple as just one of these last ones, where you test the form, just to see if it's valid. I'm not sure there was something that I was doing here, I thought. But they looked exactly the same, you're right. What would be invalid about it? Not sure. All right. But that's the end of the assignments. And then, as I said, it's just the project. So I will fix this up to make it match the forms and fields that we have. And then I will post this on GitHub. And then for the next 3 weeks, really, it's pretty much open lab to catch up on this and to work on the project. One other thing I want to share about the project. If you are working together, let's go into people. There are groups. So one of the advantages of working together in a group, one, you get to share things, you can talk it out, you can do, you can get a lot more robust discussion. Somebody look over your shoulder and see your typos, things like that. Also, if you turn it in a group, if you join a group to do it, you only have to turn in one copy, one URL. Does that make sense? Because one grade will go to everyone. This is also a chance, I'm not going to make you do that, but GitHub is pretty good at version control. Multiple people can work on the same code. So you might want to, create like a master on somebody's thing that everything goes into. You might have individual ones for work and then, merge them. It's up to you guys. Or you might just have one person who is in the end is the repository for the good version. I will help as much as needed, I hope. But you're welcome to join groups. As I said, I think that this works best with a group, but I will, if you want to do it individually, you can. The groups are about 4 people limit. Groups start to get unwieldy at about 4. They could be as few as 2, and as many as 4. If you really, really have to have 5, let me know. I can change the limit. But 5 starts to get a little bit unwieldy. All right, I think that's everything. Let me kill the video, fix this up, and then I'll come troubleshoot.